Hi everyone, welcome to monthly project number 17. I can't believe we've done 17 already. For this month, we actually did Spider-Man Villains. And to go alongside Spider-Man No Way Home, I decided to go with a Spider-Man Villains theme. So that was the brief. Everybody went away and they drew their own Spider-Man villain. So it could have been any one of them. And you could do your own spin on it. You could have a classic one from the comics, or one of the iconic ones from the movies. And at the end of the month, this is what we ended up with. Have a look at that. That is amazing. I'm really happy with everyone's work. This is a lot of our art community here on my Patreon. So a lot of really cool submissions here. Let's dive into it a little bit closer. So we got like the Shocker and Electro down there. We got Venom from the movie there. Cool Doc Ock. Really cool Mysterio. I love all of these. We're going to get into them one by one very soon. Look at that lizard. I love that. And Carnage. Have a look at Carnage there. Oh my god, amazing. And Venom is just, that shook me. I was like, wow, that's just solid work, that one. Goblin here, a really nice green Goblin. All of them, I love them. I can't fault it. I think they're all amazing. I love them. Look at this one up here. Very creative, very cool. Yeah, I'm really stoked with all of this. So let's get into them one by one. I'd first like to announce the winners of the free critiques. So I pick 3 every month out of all of the submissions, and I really liked Size Green Goblin here. I thought that was really good, very energetic, and yeah, and I feel like there's a lot I want to say. There's a lot I want to get into with that in a critique. Jeremy, your lizard, I love it. This is just, it blew me away, honestly. It really blew me away. And I'd love to dive into that, into a bit of a critique for you as well. And Xander, your Mysterio here, I really liked it. I really like this. I like what you've done, so we're going to get into that too. I really want to bring up a few things in a critique on that one, so we'll dive into that towards the end. Alright, we've got a lot to get into. Let's dive straight in. First up, we got Romeo here, and you have done a Green Goblin here, but I really love the spin that you've got. It's a very creative touch. You've got him flying a gargoyle or some sort. I love that. I've never seen that done before. I just really love that kind of creative idea there, a bit of thought in there, so I like that. Let's zoom in a bit. I really want to get a good look at him. Yeah, I like that. Really nice work. Looks like you've got your own kind of design as well. Really cool kind of medieval look. I love that. And Matt, I love this. This is awesome. You've got Scream here. This is Scream. Really cool villain. Your work's so crisp, really crisp. I really like these little details you got through there as well. Super nice work on that. Really love them colors. They're just popping out. Really popping out. Nice work there. And Philip, I love this. This is so cool. You've done a really nice job on this. I should really know what this one's called. I don't know if it's something specific, but it does look like Superior Spider-Man Venomized or something. So, oh, I love that. Love that design. Your colors are really popping out. Really cool pose too. So, yeah, nice work, mate. All right, next up we got Brandon, and you did the Shocker. You've done your own spin on the Shocker. I thought this pose worked really well on the composition as well. It just fit really nicely down here in this corner here. I really like the energy coming through that. So really nice there, Brandon. I love the design choices as well. And Cameron, you've done the Shocker. I think this might be your own spin as well. I love that hood. I really like this design that's coming up. So that's a really good idea to have that iconic headband or something that comes out, that electrical kind of one, without making it look too cheesy or anything. Like that looks really good, and really nice work on that energy as well. And Craig, loving this. Really cool looking Craven. Looks really awesome. Loving that smirk on his face. Yeah, those colors are looking really nice as well. Some nice earthy tones on him. It's good. Love it. All right, next up we got Joe, and you've done Hobgoblin over here. You've got some really nice color tones coming through that as well. Yeah, really interesting color palette. I like that. It works really well for you. Really nice line work too there, Joe. Loving that. And Carl here, he's done Dr. Octopus. This is really cool. Such a nice pose as well. Very aggressive, very angry. And it's not the only one you've done too. You've done Rhino as well. Have a look at that. Rhino. That's awesome. Looking real beefy. Loving it. Yeah, you're Dr. Octopus though. That's awesome. I'm really digging that. He works just perfect right here in the center. And Cameron, have a look at this. I just absolutely love this one. Do you know what I really like about this? I love the bulkiness. Like, he's so chunky, really, really thick. Like, I love the Venoms that are like that, like super, super chunky and solid and exaggerated. And you've just rendered it so nicely. I really love all these details coming through. Beautiful work there, Paul. Beautiful. And next we've got Ty. You've done Black Cat over here. Have a look at this. It's really cool. You've also got a background version here, which I love. I love that. I love what you did with them buildings as well, like all the perspectives kind of pointing inward at her as well, which I love. Now, she looks absolutely beautiful as well. Near photorealistic on that face there. Loving that. And Paul, you've done Taskmaster here. I'm loving that. It looks really nice. Such a cool pose. Really good addition to this whole collab as well. I was really hoping that we would get a Taskmaster. One of the coolest characters. I love him. And I'm stoked that you went with an actual skull as well for a face. I love that kind of Taskmaster. And Woot. Sorry, I don't actually know what your real name is because in the email it doesn't come with it. So I just went by what you had on your email tag. So I hope that's okay. Feel free to let me know your full name later. So this is really sick. So another one of these Superior Spider-Man Venomized ones. I've probably got that wrong. This is probably a really well-known character that I just haven't picked up on yet. But I love this pose that you've done. Very, very energetic and works really nice in the collab here as well. Just reaching across. So it looks really nice there. So yeah, awesome job on that. Thank you. Next up is Rob, and I love this. You've got Jack-O-Lantern here from Marvel. This is awesome. Really cool job on that too. Loving the fire around the head. This is such a cool character as well. I don't know a lot about this character, but I love it. I like the look of him. Yeah, nice work on that one, Rob. And Patrick, you've done, I think it's Olivia Octavius from Spider-Verse. That was the first time we really saw her on the big screen. You've done a really cool job here. I think you actually said you did a little bit of a spin on it too, so it's kind of like your own little take on her version. So really nice work on that one, Patrick. Loving that. And Matthew, Electro. This one's cool. I love this pose. Such an energetic pose. Sorry about the pun. But I like what you've done here, and it works really nicely in the composition of the collab as well. Sorry. So it just fits in nicely there. Got the energy all coming down and toward that angle, following that hand. And next we got Justin. Justin's done the Prowler here. This is this looks like the version from Spider-Verse as well. Such a cool character. They did a really good job in the movie. And you've done a really good job on this art too, by the way. I love what you did with the colors as well. Nice glowing effects and stuff like that. Looks really good. And Jazood, you've done Dr. Octopus here. Really solid work on this one, mate. I reckon this is great. Done a solid job on this art. Such strong lines. And it's not your only character. You also did a Rhino as well. So there's Rhino. Really good job on those textures as well. You got some nice textures. Even the little bumps that you've got through this whole body. Looks really good. And Deegan, you've done Venom from the movies. Tom Hardy's version. Loving this. This is really cool work as well. I like the pose, and I thought it worked really well down here as well. I kind of just put it on a slight angle. I hope you don't mind, but I did lighten it up just a little bit more. But I like what you've done there, Deegan. Really solid work. And Chris, you've done Electro over here. I think this is your own design as well, you said. This is like your own take. Oh, I love it. I think this is good. That's a solid concept. Really nice design. I just really like the way the suit works. I think that's great. Yeah, good work, Chris. And Douglas, have a look at this. You've got such a unique style. This is Scorpion. And look at this. You've just got such nice textures and stuff coming through it. So I really like this. And I like that big drip of poison that's coming out of his big tail there. That's cool. It's not the only character you did. You were banging them out this month. So have a look at this. I'll just hide that other one. There's Lizard. And I love you've got like the arm kind of coming back in as if he's growing his arm back. That's sick. That is awesome. Such a cool style. And you've done Hobgoblin as well. So this is your Hobgoblin. Very unique. Very, very unique. I'm going to zoom into that face. Have a look at that. That's pretty crazy. That's awesome. And we've got Craig. You've done Kraven the Hunter. Really love this. And I really liked your initial sketch too. You did such a cool sketch here. This is your original sketch that you sent in through our Discord earlier in the month. I love it. I love that. That's so cool. This would make a really good tattoo design, I reckon. Just it's all held together really nicely, so I like the way that works. Next up, we've got Aaron, and you've done the Superior Spider-Man here, where Doc Ock takes over Peter. It's like mind control or something. So he is a villain. Yeah, I like what you've done here too. I like how the pose is very spread out. Works really nice in our composition. Yeah, good work there, Aaron. I reckon that's great. Loving those mechanical legs too. And Berrigan, you've done Rhino. This is a really cool armored Rhino. And yeah, I especially love how there's extra horns coming out of every little bit there. I really like that. Love what you've done there. Really cool design. This must be your own kind of spin on it, your own take, which I always like. I always welcome those, and I think it's a great idea, and it's always worth trying out. Worked really nicely right in the middle of the collab there. And Manuel, you've done Doc Ock over here. I like this one. This is a really cool design. This is very unique. I haven't seen this kind of spin on him yet. Really cool face too there. They're almost like red hot, those ends there, which is really unique. So yeah, good work on that. Really nice take on him. And we've got a few more here. This is Nawil. And you've done Kindred, this one's name is. Another one I'm not too familiar with, but I really like the look of him. He seems like a crazy character. I'm going to have to look into that one. But I like what you've done. You've got some good foreshortening there as well, coming right at us. And Joe, you've done Craven the Hunter. That's cool. I like your colors. You got some nice rendering. You got some really good textures going on through here as well, especially for the hair on the arms and the chest hair and things like that. Really cool. Looks good. Even on the jacket, you've got some nice textures going through it. And some good solid line work as well. So I like what you've done with your line work. Yeah, nice work, guys. And we've got one last one from John. You've sent in your Green Goblin finally. It's just a late submission, just scraped in. So here's John's. Have a look at this. I love this. Such a cool looking Green Goblin. You've done a really good job there, John. I'm so glad you could make it and finally get that in. Love them eyes. Looking really, really cool. Sharp, solid work. Look at that. Yeah, really good. You should be proud of yourself with that one. Loving that bomb too. Yeah, I think that's really, really cool. Yeah, nice work there, John. Awesome. Okay, time to dive into some critiques. We're going to start with Sai over here. We'll get to Jeremy and Xander next. I love these. Now, I really love what you've done here, Sai. I think this is great. You've done a really, really good job. And the reason I chose it was because I just really love the energy through it all as well. And I think it's absolutely great. But I think that there's a few things I'd really love to point out, and I think we can get into this a fair bit. And it's mainly all about the colors and the rendering. I think it's just the rendering style, so I'd really love to talk about that a little bit. I've got no issues with your line work, or the pose itself, or the anatomy. I think it's all solid. So I'm going to start by fading that back. I'm going to do some outlines over the top, and I'll show you why in a minute. Okay, so I've now got a fully outlined version of your Goblin, and it's your outlines. I just went over and just copied your exact outline, so they are just yours. So what I'm going to do now is I've just laid in some flat colors over the top for Goblin here, but I can't help but feel that he's just a little too dark, especially now that I've put the outlines over the top. But so what I want to do is I really want to try and you want to make the most of your line work. So you see here I've got the flat colors. Even with just those, you can clearly see we've got, like, you can see your line work now, because Sai, I reckon you do really nice line work. Like I said, I literally just copied your line work, even the weights, the way it thins out, all over, and this is all you. So I just did it to bring it out, so now I've got full control and I can start to do some things with the colors here. So I'm actually going to get, this is yours again, and I'm just going to play around with the levels. Even so, I'm just going to see what happens if we can just lighten that up and bring the shadows up even. So it's just the shadows that are rising up, and I'll just do that a fair bit actually, because I want to keep those textures you've got too. We'll press OK, and I just want to go and pull the saturation up as well. So even that I really like, and I think that's pretty good. But what I'll do is I'll just take the opacity down as well, and we're going to blend that with the flat colors underneath. Now, I quite like that as well as it is there. I'm still getting some textures, but what we're going to do is I'll try and just pull in a bit of rendering. Because if we go back to your original, the main thing that I want to talk about is just the rendering style and the technique that you're using. So I think the easiest way to explain this is I'll just render this arm a little bit. So I've got soft rendering. This is my style and technique, by the way. So, and everyone's different, so you don't have to take this on board. But so I've got some soft rendering and I've got some sharp rendering. Now, what I usually do with my techniques, I take the opacity down to 50% on the soft, and then I'll bring the hard shading in, and I'll bring that down to 50% too. They kind of work together in a way. But I think what's happening with yours is the soft one is almost up to 100. And it's almost like the hard one is down too low, kind of like that. Okay, so I feel like that's probably where yours might be leaning. So you still get that little bit of that edge, but you get a lot of that softness come through. And the effect that you get off that it can come across a little too blurred out, if you know what I mean. So it's like a blurred kind of effect, whereas to get that kind of painted or cell shaded look, we can take that soft one down, even down to 40% if you want to, and make the most of the sharp one. So bring that up a little stronger, and if you had that rendering through your whole character, it looks a lot better. So again, this is actually your rendered one faded back on top of my flat colors. So you can now clearly get a good look at these outlines. The Goblin's very visible. It could just really help to have your outlines showing a lot more. Whereas I think in your original, the outlines tend to blend and bleed with the rendering underneath. So your outlines actually blend and almost disappear into the rendering. So that's the only issue that I have, and I think that I would absolutely love to see your beautiful lines coming through a bit more. So it's just a little bit too more glare and glow effects. That blurred kind of effect that I mentioned, that's coming through a bit too strong. So I'd love to kind of clean that up a bit, get this going a bit more like this. And what I'll do is I'll see what happens if we just go over the top, and I'll grab your darkest color and start trying to see if I can get some sharp kind of a cell shaded look in with your character. And I think that'll look really good. If I set that to luminosity, I think that'll work a lot better. Yeah, there we go. There we go. So I've added a bit more just sharp rendering to it. So I'd love to see a little bit more of that sharp rendering come through. I reckon that would really top your work off. You do such amazing work as it is, and I think that just by adding these kind of things to your work, and just thinking about your outlines as being the strongest, most important part, so that's what holds your character together, makes it stand out, and then make the colors more, maybe light them up a little bit more, or just a bit more like this, so that the outlines can be seen. Now, the only other thing that I would do to your character or your whole design here, you see the glider? I feel like we should make it really a little bit more metallic in a way. All right, so what I've done is I've made a selection of just some sections that I think would have a nice shine on them for being metallic. So I'm just going to grab that and lighten that up, those sections that I got. And that's going to give us already a nice shiny kind of look to it. So in this middle section, and I can even erase some parts if I don't want to have, it be so harsh and shiny. So I'm erasing to give it a bit of a blend to everything underneath. So there we go, a bit more like that. I like that. Maybe that pit under there as well. And then I'll get the dodge tool to shine certain sections. So right in the middle of this bit, definitely nice and shiny. Right on this edge here, and maybe just there. And especially on top of this, the head of this thing, I'd love to see that a bit more shiny and pointy like that. So even that is perfect now. I think that's great. I might even just, because the side of this head, usually one side is kind of folded. I can see you've got that line in the middle there. Shine one side like that. You see that? Just give it a little bit more shine right through the center of it. The burn tool, and I'll just, yeah, yes, there we go, perfect. All right, you see that? See how that works? Just a little bit of a touch on there to make it look a little bit more metallic, and I feel like that's fine. I haven't done the outlines, but I would have loved to see the outlines stronger around it, but that's okay. Kind of like we have with Goblin here. I think the only last touch that we need is on Goblin's lines. we can still do the colorization. So I go to the outlines and I set them to luminosity, and then when I get my dodge tool out and I set it to shadows, because it wants to highlight anything that's black or dark, will bring it to light. So that means when I get this dodge tool now and start to press on these shadows, they're going to start to blend with all the color underneath and actually turn the black into more of a green when I go over that part. I still really want to make sure that they're all standing out and we don't lose our outlines. So I'm not going to push too hard. See, if I push too hard like this, outlines are gone now. So they're starting to blend too much. I don't want that. I want to keep them. Really make sure that your line work stands out, because you have really good line work and I really want you to make the most of it. I think that's all that you need. So there you go, Si. That's it. I think that's all that your artwork needs. Let's have a look at a comparison before and after. So before and after. So before and after. And I'll zoom in a little bit more so we can get a closer look at, yeah, like this kind of section here. So we'll just go before and after. So you see what I mean? I mean, like, you've got a really good style, such energy in your poses. You always do such energetic stuff. And you're really good with your anatomy, and your line work's really nice as well. It's just, it gets a little bit hidden, and it mixes with your rendering too much. So it all blends together and we lose a lot of that nice work that you've put in. So I kind of would love to see it more like, a little bit more like this, where your line work shows more, your colors, maybe brighten them up a little bit or something, just play around with the levels. And I think that's really what your work needs. And like I said, it doesn't have to be as drastic as mine. Like mine, I've kind of exaggerated a bit and lightened it up more, but I really wanted to get that point across that we want to see that line work and really make the most of it. And that kind of blurred effect in the rendering, I feel like if we tone down on the blurriness and focus more on the sharper side of rendering, so it's a little cleaner and a little bit more easier to read, that would be really good for your stuff too. And I think the only other thing was, yeah, just the glider, making it a little bit more metallic and stuff like that. So yeah, I hope that helps, Si. That's it for that one. I really love your work, and I absolutely love your Goblin. So you've done a really good job on that. Really good addition to the collab piece as well. So thank you so much. You're an absolute legend. All right, next up we've got Jeremy. You've done the lizard, and this absolutely blew my mind. When I first saw it, I was like, holy crap. So this is just amazing, Jeremy. You've done a really bloody solid job on this. I think that's great. I especially loved little things like, you know, you've got these little bumps here, but you've also got some rendering that goes around them to resemble, like, you know, that they're beveled or raising off the skin a little bit. Just little things like that. So I really think you've done a top job on this. This is just so cool, very comic-like. All right, I'll dive into a critique for you. Okay, so one of the first things I think that it might need, it's getting really picky though, but because it's pretty close, is I think that it might be this arm in the front might just need a little more. So the shoulder, I'm guessing, would be probably about there. I'm trying to, and then you'll have your neck muscle coming up, kind of like this. And then you can obviously see it goes down the back and connects there, which you've got. Then you got your other shoulder popping out there and up. So the back one's fine, totally fine. All right, so now that we can get a clear look at what the body would be underneath, I'm going off what I can see there. So I can see that your center guide for the center chest is coming up through here and bends up, which is cool. So I've kind of got that down there. At the angle that the torso is kind of twisting, you know, which means we're going to have our shoulder up around here, and I'm just kind of going off the size of that arm at the back, but I feel like this one needs to be a lot bigger in the front, so that would come up, and you would have your arm kind of come out here a little more. I'll just draw that in, so kind of like that. So if I just hide that away, you kind of see the shoulder's kind of not there much at all, so I wanted to kind of bring that in. Big shoulder, kind of like you've got up the back there. Nice big shoulder popping out. This is being fussy, by the way, because that actually looks totally fine. Like anyone who saw that would not even notice that. So don't stress too much about it. But I'm just being a little picky here, trying to nitpick everything. So I'd put the shoulder out more. Arm stretching forward probably a little more, so the elbow would probably be more like out here, probably out here, and a bit larger as well, kind of matching the size of way that arm is up the back there. So using our guide, I'll just size that arm up, your arm that you've got. So I'll bring it out here a little bit more. I can do a little bit of liquefy and make a couple of adjustments. So I basically want to use that bulge kind of button here to bulge things out. We're going to make everything a little bit bigger. I'm going to bulge a bit of a shoulder up in this bit too. So we want to see a nice big shoulder there. See how that looks. There we go. So a bit better, and it's kind of coming toward us a little bit more too. So you see that perspective, and now I've bulged the shoulder out there too. So that was before, and that's after. So it's just a bit bigger and a bit more kind of coming at us, kind of like the sketch there. Now this is another thing that's really nitpicky. It's just a tiny little thing. The tongue, I just thought, the way it comes through with these teeth, and the teeth kind of disappear through there, whether there's a gap in there or it's intentional. Again, super picky. This is not important really at all. But what I would probably do is just rise that up, so it doesn't look like it's kind of impaled or like on the teeth. You know what I mean? Like as if the teeth are digging in. So just lift that tongue up a bit, like that even, maybe like that. And now it doesn't really feel like it's going to be stuck inside them teeth or something like that. It's just pushed in a little bit too much for me. I don't know. That's just being fussy though again. So don't stress too much. Now I think one of the main things that I would change in this piece is just the color choice on the lab coat as well. I feel like it's almost too brownish or a creamy color that nearly matches that color in his skin up his neck and up the back of the arms and stuff like that. So I kind of want to lighten it up, just like the comic version. Really play up on that white lab coat. So have it super white. I'm really going to amp that up a bit. And then I'm going to desaturate it as well. So that'll really tell me that that's a white lab coat now. So it doesn't have to be fully desaturated. I think that's too much, but maybe down to about 60 or 65%, minus 65%. There we go. You see the difference there already. I think that's great. And I think what we'll do now is I'll really amp up the brightness a little more even. Really get that white lab coat in there. Yeah, there we go. I'm happy with that. So I just think that's a really good move. I think that's going to work really well. What we'll do also is just as it gets lower, I think I'll bring it back to a little bit more of a darkened version like that, you see. So I'm just bringing in the shadows down lower. There we go. So I'll just show you the original. So before that, see how the lab coat was more of a brown? So it was almost like a dark creamy kind of color. Whereas I really want to lighten that up, and now you get that typical lizard looking character. So I know it doesn't really matter. Like I said, he's probably been in the sewer. It's really dirty and murky. So that makes sense. But just for stylization reasons or just for visual, just to instantly recognize, I'd love to have that white lab coat just like really white. And another thing that I might do is I might actually get a levels on your actual character and just bring up the brightness. So the highlights part, I'm just a tiny bit, maybe the mid-tones a little bit too. And I just want to see what that looks like. Yeah, just a little bit. Now that's another thing, it's not completely necessary. And then I might even bump the saturation up just 10%, like plus 10. And I think that's going to really make this guy pop just right. It's just the right amount. It's all it really needed. Now one last thing that I might do, I think I might just adjust the snout. This is just a personal choice here, but I'd love to see that just a bit thicker. There we go. So I just wanted to make those little adjustments there. So now again, this is just me being picky. I just felt like the jaw, the way the teeth come down, I feel like they needed to come up a bit more here. I'm trying to think of the skull underneath, and the way that would shape and where the teeth would attach to. So I feel like they would be a bit higher. And this part here, this cheekbone part of a dinosaur or a big lizard as it is, would be up a bit higher, and that big bit stretches down as their mouth rips open. So you can really play up on that stretchiness there. And there's the back jaw there. And I rose up those other teeth on the other side as well. I also rose, just for villainous reasons, I really had his eyebrows kind of reach and raise out of the skull part. So really exaggerate those a little bit more. I actually also brought this one that way a little bit more to give you more skull room, just between the skull and in the middle there. And the snout, I felt, again, with the skull underneath, I felt like it just needed to have a little bit more room for the meat to go on top. A bit more meaty, just above where the snout is there. But again, that's just being picky, and it wasn't really that necessary. So I think yours was completely fine as it was. Right, let's have a look at before and after of the overall thing. So before I started, it was like that. And you can see with the lab coat especially, just different colors. And now we got that. Now have a look at this arm. That was one of the main issues, or the main things we kind of adjusted, was that arm. So before, I just felt like it was a little small, and it really needed to come out more. We needed that shoulder room of that original kind of sketch here. I needed to really have that kind of, that shoulder bulge out. So did that. And now the arm is much bigger, you see. And then we've changed the lab coat color as well. We've changed the color of your lizard as well a little bit. Just brightened it just a tiny bit. And a bit more saturated, just to give it more pop. And then the last bit was just the face. So we just did the face there and adjusted that. Amazing work, Jeremy. I think you've done an absolutely top job on that. So you should be really proud of yourself. And I hope this helps in some way as well. Alright, next up is Xander. You've done Mysterio. Love this one. I'm so glad we got a Mysterio in the piece as well, in the big final piece. Works really nicely just down here. I liked it. I love the way that works. So I really like the way you've done this, and the kind of comic style, and I just love the black outlines, and you've got this black shading as well, so it's really solid, really stand out, and I just like the way that is. And this pose as well, especially, very Mysterio-like, and I love it. And I also love the color halftone effects you got up, and the textures, things like that. I just think this is great. I feel like there's a bit we can get into with this in a critique. That's why I chose it. I thought there's a fair bit I could probably cover with this, and to try and help you with, so we can improve. So just straight off the bat, I'll just mention, I feel like the hands, we can't see any hands here. Now that's, and we shouldn't obscure this artwork too much. So we can't really tell what the hands are doing or where they are right now, and I feel like it'd be just really great to see those. If you look at a lot of comic art, you'll see as well, a lot of them never really obscure the hands. They'll either have the hands there, but they're colorized, or the outlines are at least colored to the power, so you can still see the hand, and the power wraps around it or goes around it. So we're going to do something like that. Another thing that I wanted to mention was just the smoke as well. I think the choice of having the smoke like that, I think it kind of, it can really downgrade a piece by having, just because the styles are different. So that's all. It's just because it's a different style choice. This comes across as more of a, comes across as kind of more realistic in a way, like, you know, a realistic smoke mixed into a comic world, and they're kind of two different realms in a way, so they don't really match. So I just want to get away from that, and we're going to do some kind of comic style smoke, and that'll really tie this all together. It's all about matching, and it's also similar with the water effect that you've got in his helmet. I feel like that's almost photorealistic as well, so we've got to try and move away from that and match this comic style you've got here. There's just too many different styles kind of mashing into one. So I'll show you how we can just kind of hone that in a little bit into one thing. Now, as for the hands, I've got a couple here that I've actually drawn up before, and I just plonked them in just from old sketches that I found. So we're going to do something like this, and I'm going to draw these hands over. So I'm going to redraw them, and I'll redraw your Mysterio's arms, and then we're going to do some magic powers over the top. Okay, there we go. So I've just finished, I've put in some hands just so we can see them. Basically, I tried to just remove the powers so that we can see what's underneath. I also removed that smoke as well because we're going to redo that, and I'll show you a really good way that we can attempt this. So there's the hands now. We've got the hands. I also realized, I think up here we just needed to see that shoulder and the way the arm kind of moves in. I think you might have had it like pointing more towards us. That's why I can see that wristband, that gold wristband coming through, but we kind of need to see that shoulder. I just did it probably a little different. So we're going to attempt to do some smoke now, but like I mentioned before, we want to kind of go with more of a comic look rather than a realistic kind of. So what we're going to do is we'll just take them both out and match it all together. So go back to the original, just pretend you got that. Now the way I would do smoke is just, I've got like a faint green kind of color here, like this. Okay, a really sharp brush, and I'm just going to start blotching in areas. We'll start with down here where you kind of had the other one, and I'm just going to blotch it in where I think, just roughly. There we go. So I'll probably do something like this. So it's really good to start off super simple. It's literally just a flat color, and I think that'd be a really good way to start it. And I'm just kind of choosing spots similar to your original. So smoke kind of creeping around. I really liked how you framed him as if he's like a sticker. So you kind of like framing with smoke around behind him, and that's holding it all together, which I thought that was a really good idea of yours. So we're going to go with that, with some smoke here underneath that's behind him. But I want that to kind of creep up past his head a little bit too, so over his shoulders. So let's do that, and then we'll have that smoke bend around and around his hands. Because Mysterio doesn't actually really ever have magic kind of coming, like powers shining from his hands. He'll usually just have smoke. He's like controlling the smoke with his hands. It looks really cool. He kind of moves that around. So we're going to run with that. So what I would do now that we've got a flat blotchy kind of color in, let's just outline it. We'll try an outline now. That's why I like to do this. Doing it, the big blotches first is a really good guide. And then all I'm going to do is I'll just sample that, make it a darker green. See, like this, size it down, and we'll just start inking it. So we can just ink the whole thing around all these outlines and put a bit of style in it to match. You want to try and match what you've done here. You see your solid lines? So we're trying to match this style with some smoke too. There we go. So it'd be something like that. And you can see how I just followed around the outside of the blobs with an outline. And I kind of, when I felt like it, I would just dip in, just thinking about like a cloud and how it might fold over in some places. So I have done a tutorial on that before as well. So I think that was the Elements tutorial, which might help as well. But this is kind of how I might approach it. So you can see how the style really matches Mysterio now. They match, and it's all the same. So it really works in its favor now. It really, they all just mesh together perfectly. So that's kind of what we're going for. And now all I need to do is we'll just brighten it up on the inside. Even if I just got like a nice soft brush, and we'll do just the edges maybe, wherever we think it might be a little brighter, and then I'll just go over with a hard brush as well, and we'll fix that up. Alright, so I've just added a little bit of that highlight just here and there around the smoke. So something like that I recommend. Now we should probably have a look at the globe in his mask as well, in the globe. I think what I might do is go blur. I'll go radial blur, and we'll just maybe do a spin maybe, and I'll just spin that. Then I might actually I'll just paint over a little bit because I want to soften that right out. I kind of like the way that reflection's working up there too. So what I'll do is I'll just get my lasso tool now. We're just going to select some random big blob or a big area to turn into kind of a reflection, and then I'll just paint that in. So I'll just paint that in, and then I might even just get the dodge tool to really lighten that up. And then the last touch will be a dodge tool without a selection. Play around with some midtones down here, and then I might even change the hue and bring it back into maybe a bit more of a purpley blue. I think that would be a really good option, purpley blue. It just, that kind of, the more purple you go, because purple and green really work together really well. So that's a nice option as well. Doesn't have to be super saturated. And what I've done also is I also grabbed another original. I put a bit of a cutout filter on it. And now I'm going to see what happens if we just play around with the color modes. Because I kind of want to get a little bit of extra detail in there that you've had. See, that's pretty good. That's overlay. So I'm going to use that and then just take the opacity down to about 30–40%. So that way we still get a little bit of, it's almost a cell shaded look. So that was the original and that's now. So I just feel like going a little simpler is better, definitely better. Okay, that'll do it though, that'll do it. So this is all you. I didn't really change anything in your actual character design. I love the suit, I love the textures, I like this color halftone effect you've got on there as well. So I think all that's really nice. Yeah, so like I said, I haven't changed anything, there's no proportion issues there. I think it's great. All we did was reveal the hands again, took those powers away. So here's the original, and this is what we've got now. So you see what happens when we try and match that comic style. So you go with the flow of picking one style and sticking with it, and I just think it's a lot better. You know, you can do whatever you want with this smoke as well. So if you're not a fan of it being so bright like that, we can darken some parts down around the back. Like I said, I really think matching the style is a really good way to go. And now we can see those hands, because you got to really keep in mind as well, I've said this before, but if you're going to have a character coming at you like this and you know you expect to see hands are what our eyes are really drawn to. So our eyes are naturally just drawn to them. They're really technical if you think about it, fingers and hands and all that. So when you're doing a character, our eye is naturally drawn to that. So if it's not there, it's kind of taking away a lot out of the picture. So it just makes it just that little bit less interesting. So by adding those back in, you've got more of an interesting character, more of an interesting pose. You've got a clear visual of him. We don't want to obscure them too much. And yeah, you can really clearly see your pose now. It's all held together with this smoke, and it's coming around. Cool. So I'm really, yeah, hope that helps, Xander. I think you've done a bloody good job on that. I think that's awesome. Great job. Yeah, and also with the globe as well, we just made that a little bit more less realistic and went with the simple kind of detailing through there, and a bit more of a purple tone. Yeah, all right. Well, thank you so much for your submission. Awesome work, and I hope that helps. All right, now it's time to run through the Tier 4 critiques. This is the higher tier on my Patreon, where people can get one-on-one advice through Discord. So through the month, they can send through anything, any progress that they want, some help with, and I'll send some feedback. So we're going to start with Abby, and this is Abby's submission of Green Goblin. Really, really cool. I love what you've done here, Abby. So cool. Nice design too. You've come up with this by yourself, so this is like a bit of your own design, your own concept, which I really love. Love seeing that kind of stuff. So let's have a quick look. This is more of a before and after. So earlier in the month, Abby sent me this. This was her original sketch in Discord, and then I did a few tweaks and changes through the earlier in the month, and now we've got this one here. This is your final. I'll show you what I've done for your critique, Abby. So this is the critiqued version. There's not too much, because you've done a really good job, super smooth. There's a few things here and there that I'll just run through really quick with you. So just as you can see with the metal, I just wanted a bit more of a deeper, darker shadow around, just to hold it together a little more. Now on the suit, I've tried to adapt to your kind of style to help you, so we can like push your style a little bit more. So basically what we've done is, if you look with your shading, so before, you can see this is yours. And all you need to do is, if you get that lighter green there, and you follow it down the leg, like here in these little gaps, and this is only for shiny metallic objects, by the way. So this suit's perfect because it's like a metallic suit. So all you need to do is follow that down those little ridges, as if there's a little bit of shine catching on them, and that just gives it that little bit more edge. I've also gotten a darker green underneath to help kind of frame it a little bit more, and again around these boots. So have a look at these boots before and after as well. You can see what I've done there. A few more darker shadows, but the shine is definitely catching on there. Same with through the abs here. I kind of got rid of those shadows, those heavy shadows, so it looks a bit more like the armor is folding over. I added a few more shines on the shoulders. And in this arm here, we've got a nice shimmer coming down that arm there. So that green, I actually got that lighter green that you've got and continued it down the arm. And we also followed the edges as if that's kind of beveled those bits of armor. And just with that hand as well, I just wanted to like fill in that under bit there. I really wanted to see that hand kind of continue underneath. But that's basically it, Abby. That's all it really needed, just to help boost this Goblin. So I think you've done an awesome job. So thanks so much, Abby, and I hope that helps. I can't wait to see more from you. Next up, we've got Andrew, and you've done Rhino. Let's have a look at this. You got a really cool cartoony style as well. All right, so I can show you what we've done. This was your critique, so I just wanted to basically refine these edges a bit more, especially the leg here and stuff like that. It's just getting a little bit, I just feel like it needs a little bit more detail in the kind of anatomy. Now I've done the same kind of shading you had, so using that same shadow, that colored shadow, I brought that in and just kind of continued that around. So following the leg there, down the leg, real chunky. I kept your exact head. I have not changed the head at all. I've not changed the fist at all either. So that's the same fist you had and that hand as well. So I kept the hands and the head. Basically, I redid the body and torso. So I wanted thicker torso around here as well. So we kind of added a bit more torso. See how there's not much around here. So I really wanted him to be a bit thicker. Just to follow that anatomy. Also, I noticed in the original, I think I'm not sure if they're the collarbones, or actually no, that's probably just from the traps up there. So I just wanted to make sure them collarbones were down here, make them more readable. So we just need a little bit more detail inside the body. There's not much to show there, so really wanted to bring that in. But apart from that, mate, so that's the kind of thing I was hoping that we could aim for. But apart from that, that's basically all I thought we should probably do, is really just draw in a few more details. I think the body just needs to be drawn in a little bit more. Just a few more details here and there. And then it would have been really solid. So even just down the leg, if you had a few calf or the knee, a couple of little things on the knee. I've got couple of little scratches and tweaks here and there. That really helps a lot. So I think that might help you. All right, Andrew, thanks so much for your submission. And I hope that helps. All right, next we've got Brett, and you've done a wicked scorpion here. Really cool scorpion. Earlier in the month, you sent me this. So the left, you sent me that one. It was just kind of your roughs. And I just kind of helped you, just point you in the right direction with a couple of things. I felt like the chest needed to be brought out, or puffed out a little bit more there. So I brought that in. What else was it? Oh, the shoulder, we rose that up, and the leg's been a larger leg. And a couple of other little tweaks here and there. So basically, let me show you, really cool scorpion, by the way. Let me show you what I did for your critique. So this is basically what we got. Okay, so if you can have a look, so before and after. Now what I've done is I've actually got your outlines, and I used them. They're basically brought in as a solid black. I just realized as well, I did forget to lighten a couple of these edges to match that green underneath. Because I do like the colorization of the outlines, which is what you had. So we'll try and continue that a little bit here and there, like on that shoulder. But basically what I wanted to do was keep your outlines really, I want them to be strong. Because if you look at your original, it's all kind of nearly fading off into the same color. Even the black that's from the hands, it's nearly fading off a little bit too much. So by bringing those outlines back in again and making them near black, and then lightening, or not even lightening the green, I just kind of actually toned down the green. I felt like it was a little bit too strong and saturated. It's almost kind of a fluoro color, a little bit too strong. So I toned that down. I also colorized the shadows. So they're actually leaning more in towards like a bluey color, whereas you get that green. And by colorizing your shadows, it really just gives it a really, really cool effect. So I really wanted to just bring those black outlines back in, give it more of a comic look. I just feel like the old one was just getting a little bit too faded off. It's a little bit too faint, if you get what I mean. Like, it's even the black outlines are just, they're a little bit too lightened to match that green. So yeah, let's try and bring it in darker. There we go, mate. I hope that helps, Brett. Awesome work. Really cool pose too, by the way. Very energetic. All right, next up we've got Deegan. Love your work, mate. You do such good work. Super, super crisp. Look at this carnage. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. And I'll tell you what, Deegan, this was near impossible to critique, by the way. I was just looking at it thinking, I can't fault this. There's nothing. So I actually was sitting there for probably 20 minutes, half an hour, trying to figure out what can I nitpick out of this. I got to give you something. So yeah. Anyway, earlier in the month, this is what Deegan sent me, asking, you know, what could be fixed or anything like that. So I think I just made the shoulders a little bulkier. Just felt like the shoulders, well, that one there mainly was just getting a little small, so we made them a bit larger and they matched. Couple of tweaks. I think I brought some of the muscles across more, but it was this leg mainly. We kind of just brought that across, kind of aiming at us a little bit more. Well, not aiming at us, but bent up more, getting that kind of squish in, getting that calf in there. All right, so let's have a look and I'll show you what I have done for you. So this is basically, see how subtle this is. I'll zoom in a little bit. So that's after. So before and after. So before and after. So that's all I've really been able to do. It was really just about trying to make that red pop. It's a very complex, like this carnage, this version that you've got. Here's a few versions here, little examples. The classic carnage, very complicated and detailed in the middle of him everywhere. So those black gooey streaks that go through him make it very complex, which is awesome. So when it comes to coloring, sometimes it's best to keep it really simple. So you already did have it quite simple. I'll just show you here. So that's your original, and that's mine now. I'll hide them so you can see. So that's your original, and you had darkened edges. If you look at these darkened edges around the outside, but what I've done is I lightened the edges. So it's kind of lightening it up more, and I also got like a flat red all over your character, and I toned it down 50% so that it kind of toned down your dark shadowing that's going right through the body. So I kind of did that so that we could bring back a strong solid red, so it's all just more plain and nearly a flat color. And then what I did was I was looking at these references, this one especially, and you see around the back and the edges there's like a pink. It's almost like a pink coming off that red. So I did that around yours, all the way around the edges, and I felt like that really lifted him up more and made him pop more. So it's almost kind of, yeah, I really thought that helped a bit. And then this has also got this nice deep dark red for shadowing. So I also did that, especially under these biceps here. So you see before, because those biceps are more hidden and they're tucked back, I wanted to make sure that they were in shadow. So I shadowed them out and put a nice shadow casting down there and under the arm. Same with it here. And a little bit under the pecs, around the neck, and down under the legs as well. I'll show you before and after. You can see how that's kind of working. And up top as well, I'll show you so you can see. It's really, really awesome carnage too, by the way. You've just done such a good job. So that's shadowing under the biceps and stuff. Yeah, so that's it. That's all I could fault. You've got no issues with the anatomy. Solid line work, perfect line work, really standing out. And those black, like this is like vector. This is super crisp. I love it so much. Yeah, anyway, all right, thanks so much. I think that is an amazing job, and I hope that critique helps. Okay, next up we've got Eric, and Eric did Sandman. Did Sandman for the month. You're actually probably the only Sandman I think we got. So I'm really glad we got to include that one in. And yeah, so thanks heaps for sending that in. Here's an early sketch that Eric sent through earlier in the month. And I think I just mentioned, let's thicken up that big sandy arm there. It's supposed to be like real powerful. So I really wanted to thicken that up into the hammer, or the big brick hammer thing. Same with this arm. I really wanted to thicken that up, real beefy. And the neck muscles as well. I just felt like he was a little thin through there, so I really thickened him up. Yeah, and then I'll show you what I've got. This is what we ended up with, mate. So what I really wanted to do here was really bring in your line work. So I feel like it's just got lost. The line work's got lost in this dark brown. So the brown and the shadows are really too strong and dark. So the best thing you can do is just keep your line work. It's a safe bet, is keep your line work nice and visible. And with just I basically started off with a flat color, and I just kind of used yours as a base to get some of that rendering back in. Kind of started from scratch and started to go through and fill it in, just real basic. So, and I will just mention as well, so that was your final submission, but I just looked in Discord and there was one you sent just before it, which is this one. So that's the final one, but that's the one that you sent here just before it. I kind of like that more, and you've almost got more, it's more visible. But I think you've done a bit of a filter or something over the top, and it's just darkened it all down just a bit too much. But basically with this one, I actually used the what we did here, because I did warp your face. So that's your drawing. I just warped it to be a little bit more aggressive, but I did use this whole sketch here, and I made this out of it using this. And also just want to mention, Eric, I feel like, where is it, your original? I really want these outlines to kind of, they're getting a little too thick and a little too bold around the edges. See on that leg there, a little too bold. So what I've done is I've started to taper them thin in some areas like this. So you can go thick, but go thin in a lot of areas, and that starts to bring in a nicer look. So you can go a bit bolder around the side of the head there, but I went a little thinner up on the hair, especially on the fist and that knuckle and stuff like that. Just, you know, starting to really pull in that line work a little bit more. But that's it, Eric. Yeah, the best thing you could do is keep that line work nice and visible. Don't go too dark with the shadowing. See how the shadowing just went too dark, especially through here. That's the only issue. I also, oh yes, last thing. So in the background, you've got like a painterly style, like some Photoshop brushes that to resemble the sand and textures and things. It's cool, but I think that if you've got this kind of style, we should continue that through everything. So that means the sand as well. And I know that's painstaking, but I went through, I actually did a brush, same as you, kind of a brush for sand in the back, but then I outlined it. And I feel like that's going to help make it all match and tie together. So you want to get that comic look. And I know it's a lot of work, but definitely it's a kind of a must-have with when you want to stick to one style. We should have everything match. And I think that's the best thing we can do. So I hope that helps, Eric. And yeah, thanks so much for your submission. Really cool Sandman. All right, last one, last critique. And this is Jason's submission. You did Green Goblin. This one looks like the one from No Way Home, which is really cool. Looking awesome, mate. Yeah, I did a bit of a critique for you. So earlier in the month, you sent me this sketch. Oh, sorry, I don't think I have the comparison version, but you can kind of see it here real faint, but the glider used to be really small. So I made the glider really big, kind of drew it in for you and had it so you can have it cropped off or if you needed to. Anyway, we had it really big, popping right out the sides there. And I adjusted your legs to make them fold up a little bit more. Pretty much left most of your sketch as it was. And then you ended up with this as your final submission. And I'll show you what I did for your critique. So here's the critiqued version. So before and after. So basically what I've done, if you can just have a look, I did make the outlines a bit thicker around the whole character overall. You don't have to take that on, but I thought it looked a lot better with a bit of a thicker outline. So I also, if I move into the face and stuff and go your original and then this one, I really want to have that black coming through. I think that that would really benefit your work if you add in some of this just only where the blackest, darkest shadows might be. So definitely under a hood. See how the hood is just a light purple before? I want to have a full black shadow in there, really framing that face. And it just brings your outlines a bit stronger as well, like makes them a bit stronger. And I also have that shadow. See, I also added a chest in. Before there was nothing coming through here. And I really wanted to add in a chest because he needs to have a full torso like in that area there. So I felt like that's the only thing it was missing, was that chest in there to complete the torso and also help that neck not feel like it's floating so much. So I added in some clothing through there. The shadow of the black also is under that little ripped kind of material there as well, you can see. So it was a little thin before, so I thickened that up. I also fixed up the face just a bit, so I put thicker shadows under the nose. I also framed the face a little bit more and brought in a little side of those jaws. I feel like he just needed the side of his jaws to come in and round off those cheeks a little bit more as well. And I also thickened out the outlines around the glasses. That back arm was a bit long, so just that forearm stretched out a bit too much for me, so I brought it right back, and that's basically it there. I also, that back leg, I felt like before, it really just, I also brought it up here so it connected a bit better here. But that back leg, I felt like it needed to be darkened right down, so I dimmed it right down. It gives more dimension because that's kind of tucked in shadow, so I did that. Also did it to this glider back here. I gave it more dimension by adding shadow through it and darkening it right down, especially that bit down in the middle. Yeah, and then I just added, this leg here as well. So I wanted this to wrap around the contouring of his leg, you see? So wrap that around the contouring as if it's aiming forward. I pulled the knee down as well, and the foot up a little bit more as well. Oh, there we go. And the smoke, I just wanted to add in that kind of hot, kind of fiery flame that comes out, or just making the smoke look a bit hot through there. Yeah, so that's about it, mate. That's it. So, yeah, I hope that helps, Jason. And I love your work. Really cool looking Goblin, by the way. So, good work. All right, we're finished. That's it. What a month. That was massive. That's a huge collab. I'm really proud of all of you guys, everyone that submitted. I think you've all done an awesome job. This is a little different from the one I showed earlier in the video. I just had a couple of final submissions, one here from John, and yeah, I just moved a couple of things around. So I moved you over there, Jason, and yeah, a few other things here and there. So I've moved the other Doc Ock up there now. So all good. Really happy with that. I can't wait to post it on social media. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And we're definitely going to do a lot of collabs like this in the future. This is our second collaboration on Patreon now with all of you artists. So there's definitely plenty more to come. Alright everyone, well, I'll leave you to it. And yeah, go watch Spider-Man No Way Home. It was absolutely amazing. One of my favourite Spider-Man movies now. Blew my mind. So I'm glad we did a nice big tribute kind of to tie into it. All them villains coming through the portal. They're all coming in from different dimensions. It's really cool. Yeah, I like the idea. Thanks for watching everyone, and I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you all next time. And don't forget, if you want to jump on board my monthly projects, just sign up to my Patreon. Anyone on the $10 per month tier has access to these and a lot more. We also have art competitions. You get access to all of my art and Photoshop documents and heaps more. So you can check that out at patreon.com/PatrickBrown.